Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast. And I'm going to recommend something, and that is Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. Disney put it out. It's a book. It has the movie, it has the sequel, so, why not use your free book and find more out about this movie. So if you want to grab that for your free book, just go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast and pick that up. Tell them Rowan sent ya. And let's get to the podcast. 5, 4, 3, 2...
I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie? You sick fucks. You've seen one too many, really.
I said, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host Rowan.
Hi, it's Exilia.
And this is Melissa Etheridge visiting a steakhouse, Mike.
That was my best Bash impression from Glow, because I wish there's another season.
It only came out like a month ago.
I know.
You're gonna wait a
Calm yourself.
At least.
I know. I never want the show to end, ever.
Oh, no, and then it'll be the last season they'll announce, and, it's gonna be like, oh, it's... all the episodes are 2 hours long, but there's only 3 episodes, and you're going to watch it in one sitting, and it's going to be a devastating moment in your life.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
This podcast is canceled. It's actually now a Glow review podcast.
Mm-hmm. Glow appreciation.
We switched from OC appreciation.
No, it's still OC.
Oh, so it's both. Glow and OC.
Yeah.
We wear many hats, my friend.
many
hats.
So guys, we're in week 2 of the October spooky, spectacular film fest of It Slays. I feel like I'm adding so many words that aren't really there.
But it's just funny because, literally for us, especially on this show, every day is Halloween.
Yeah, that's
to quote
true.
one of the greatest songs of all time, the Ministry song, "Every Day is Halloween."
I feel like I'm in A Nightmare Before Christmas because it's always Halloween. That sounds weird because Christmas is in the title. Exilia's just staring at me. Ignore my ranting. So, if you guys are listening to this episode and for some reason you didn't listen to last week's episode, go check it out. We did A Nightmare on Elm Street. Exilia made some cool artwork. She's pretty proud of that artwork.
Yeah, pretty proud.
I
showed my dad and he was like, oh yeah.
Exilia's dad was...
The joy of living with my parents.
So, let's just get into it. Rowan's question for the day.
Or Rowan's choice, as Mike has deemed it.
Yeah, Rowan's
that.
choice. This one, we're gonna really get existential.
Oh, that's how I live my life, baby.
That's right. So the question is, and I'm gonna start with you today, Mike.
Oh.
I want to know why... I said why we, but why you like or don't like physical media. So why do you enjoy like a book or a Blu-ray or a vinyl or a CD? Like, do you prefer that mode? Why? Why not?
It's a good question. For some things, I prefer the physical, and for some things, I prefer digital. And even within those categories, it varies. I will say that largely, I do very much appreciate the physicality, especially books, because my whole life has been centered around books. Books are one thing that I like holding on to them. I like smelling them. I love the feel of them. And most importantly, I love having shelves full of books in my house when people come in, and they can, everybody when they come into my place for the first time will just go over to the bookshelf and just look at everything and ask me questions about it. And it's such a really great way to get to know people and who they are and what they're like and what they don't like. And so that aspect especially, I love books. Music, I'm kind of split. I had a very, very large CD collection that I started collecting. I started buying CDs, when I was very, very young. And I would go to like thrift stores and just buy them like mad. So I was like overcome with physical music.
Yeah.
And I listen to music constantly. Like, the only time I don't have music on is essentially when I'm at work. So there's like 8 hours a day that I am not spinning some kind of music somewhere in my life. It got to the point where CDs were really becoming a problem in terms of space and with, changing them and stuff. Now, I do like the ritual of getting up and putting on a record, and I love records. So for stuff that like I particularly enjoy or vintage things, I love buying records. But for the most part, I now enjoy my music more digitally because I transferred all of my CDs, my hundreds and hundreds of ill-gotten CDs, onto hard drives and stuff. So now I can like do up playlists, and it kind of like gives me a little bit more control and freedom, I guess. And
yeah.
Same thing with movies for the most part. Streaming is quick and easy, of course, but then, if your internet goes out or what have you, you're fucked. So that's why I do like my collection of Blu-rays, and I got rid of a lot of my DVDs. I tried to keep anything that meant something to me I would keep, but the last couple moves I made, I would sell or give away a lot of my stuff. Some of it I did actually rip to hard drives as well, which is probably some kind of copyright issue, but I figured it's my DVD. I paid $20 for it. Like, if I want to have it on a hard drive instead of on a disc, I can. But of course I do have, my selection of Blu-rays, and I just like having, special editions of things and movies that like mean something to me.
Yeah.
Or things that people have given me, So, like I said, I'm sort of back and forth, and I like having things to feel and touch and look at, but I'm also very conscious, especially right now, I'm living in a very small space, of how much space these objects take up and how they crowd us, I guess.
And plus, if you give him Mike a gift, he's not going to admit to you that he sold it. So...
ripped it on a hard drive and then sold it.
Or gave it away. I didn't even make money off of it.
Excellent.
What's the question again? Sorry. I was just really immersed in Mike's answer.
Why we like or don't like physical media, books, whatever.
Right. Anybody, I'm the same. I love having physical books. I love having records. Okay. In terms of records, I'll only buy a record that I really love. Like, I would never just like go and be like, oh, well, I like want to listen to this album, so I'm going to buy the record of it. Like, I would never do that. That's what Spotify's for. But yeah, I love that. And it's very kind of similar to Mike. Like, Mike and I met because we both worked at a bookstore. And I feel like when you go to someone's house and you like see what books they have, I think I've spoken about this before on the podcast. I don't know. You kind of like get a feel for their taste, what kind of person they are. And I feel like you're like, yeah, like we would totally be friends based on the kind of books we like. Or, maybe not. I guess. Maybe not, I guess.
Oh, I see you have that Jordan Peterson.
I was just going to say Jordan Peterson shelf.
I actually have something that came up and I have to leave now.
Exactly.
I cut my foot earlier and my shoe is filling up with blood.
Also, I just find something about having a lot of books around me, like, very comforting. And, like, I love, like, artwork on records. I love artwork on books. I don't know. It's just, and also I'm from a generation where I remember life before everything was online, and to me, I mean, I never fully transitioned into that fully like digital thing, so it's kind of just like natural as well.
Yeah, I feel like we're hybrids, like cyborgs of media, if you will.
Yeah, but in terms of like, I mean, Rowan has enough Blu-rays for an army, so he's got me covered there.
Oh yes,
and then,
when the internet gets bombed, you guys are set for the apocalypse.
And stuff like video games, like, I don't play a lot of video games, but when I do, I'll just buy them on the PlayStation Store. I don't think there's anything necessary I need to, like, physically own.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm probably the most guilty out of all of us about physical...
Oh my god. Tell me about
hoarder
it.
Tendencies here.
Hoarder tendencies.
We live in a room right now, and literally... all I see is comic book boxes, a whole thing of Blu-rays. Like, it's just, talk about space. I might as well sleep on a box of Blu-rays.
Well, I mean, you could elastic band a nice
You
pallet
can make
of
a
them
mattress.
together and then like
Yeah.
a mattress on top of it. Like, I'm sure it would be, the tensile strength would be enough to...
So
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely guilty on all aspects. I love physical media because I definitely like comic books. Like I've talked about it before. Like I'm a big comic book lover, and I did at one point like I did the Marvel Unlimited and the digital, and then all that turned into was like I was like, oh man, I really love reading this comic. I better read it on digital and then buy it. So I'm trying to pare myself down on that a bit.
incredibly unsuccessful.
I love books. The same reason. I'm probably not as big of a book collector as you guys. I try to really focus my collection on things like I really like. So like I have a lot of like horror books and like sci-fi books are kind of my thing. And then I have a lot of like black literature. Yeah, like
I feel like it's for books, it's like an identity thing too, I feel.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like people can tell what
your taste.
So I have a lot of like black literature, and then, you know, I have like stuff I personally enjoy, like, you know, Cormac McCarthy, like I'm all about that. And and then like I also collect everything. Records, I like records. I'm kind of the same way. Unless I really like it, I don't really need it on vinyl. I'm probably a little less fussy than Exilia, where like I'll have things like my big things like Ray Charles. Like I want to own like his entire discography on vinyl. So like anything Ray Charles, I will buy Ray Charles.
Rowan's also a completist. So not only does he buy things, but if it's like a series and he doesn't like part of it, it doesn't matter. He still buys it because he needs to have the whole thing.
Oh, he can't have that gaping hole.
I find that like utterly just maddening.
Yeah, that's kind of my issue. And then, like I said at the beginning, I mean, Blu-rays is really, you know, as horror lovers, like, it's kind of my weakness. Like, Arrow, Scream Factory, they ruin me. But it's like, I want to have them. I love physical media. Just because, like Mike said, like, if I'm somewhere that doesn't have the internet, or, like, I think about, like, when we visit my parents, like, they have really bad internet, so, like, streaming Netflix sometimes isn't an option. But, like, a ritual ever since I was a kid, like I've talked about before, like, me and my mom always watched horror movies together. So, like, usually we'll bring down a movie that she's wanted to see or hasn't seen, and we put it in the Blu-ray player, and we can all watch it. I don't have to worry about their internet. And I like, you know, I like looking at the box. I like if it comes with a booklet. Like some of the Arrow stuff comes with booklets and posters, and I like having that. And it's very much, to me, the Blu-rays for me is more of an identity thing, where the books kind of, I feel, for you guys is, to me, it's like my Blu-ray collection is where I really craft my likes and dislikes.
You curate your identity, your performance, yes.
That's right. Very, very sociological.
Mm-hmm. Irving Goffman leaping out. You're performing your identity through your Blu-ray collection.
It's true.
You guys thought we were going to talk about a movie, but we're actually...
No. This is...
This episode's on Goffman. So if you guys could please turn to chapter 1.
Yeah.
Presentation in everyday life.
Brilliant book, by the way. Like, everybody needs to read it. Like,
yeah,
it will change your outlook on every, like, interaction you have in your life.
I used a lot of Goffman in my honors thesis. I love Goffman.
Oh, I used him in my master's thesis, and Goffman is like my boy.
If you...
Judith Butler.
Also a Canadian.
Yes.
I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, from
He's an American Canadian, but
Calgary, I think.
He went to U of T.
But I think he's from Calgary.
I'm gonna look it up.
We're gonna look it up.
We're Googling Irving Goffman here.
This is a crucial piece of information for Hocus Pocus.
I was gonna say, we've gone this far and haven't even said the name of the movie that we're talking about yet, because we're not talking about a movie, apparently.
He's actually from Manville, Alberta. I have no idea where Manville is. He went to University of Manitoba and also U of T, and then did his MA and PhD at the University of Chicago and died in Pennsylvania. Just a quick rundown for all you. I know they're really like
shout out to Pennsylvania because there's actually
desire.
I see there's a couple people that listen to us from Pennsylvania.
Go. Fun fact.
Fun fact, shout out. Horror hounds. Do you guys like horror music? I like horror music. Exilia likes horror music. We know Mike definitely loves horror music. So if you love horror music like we do, join us on Spotify. We have a playlist up called the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. We have some of our favorite tasty jams from some of our favorite horror movies, and we're always consistently adding to the list. And let us know. You can email us or Facebook or Instagram us and let us know if there's anything we should add to the playlist. Well, let's get into our film. So the film is from 1993, directed by Kenny Ortega, I think is how you say his name. I always murder names. He is well known for the other films High School Musical.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say High School High.
High School High.
Oh, if only.
Random.
High School Musical. He directed many episodes of the Gilmore Girls. And he also directed the Michael Jackson bio documentary, This Is It. And that was pretty much kind of the only notable things that I think he's really done.
Was that the one that he was in, or was it the one that they, it was like a dramatization? Do you know?
That's the one he was in.
Oh, okay.
I think that came out when he was
still alive. Yeah, okay.
So anyway, Exilia, this was your pick.
Oh.
What movie is it?
Hocus Pocus.
So let's get into the trailer, and we'll come back with that good old IMDb bio.
Hocus Pocus, don't lose your focus.
Jump back. Twist the bones and bend the back. Here to take up a American mystic.
Back in 1693, the people of Salem, Massachusetts
Witches!
Yes?
thought they got rid of the Sanderson sisters for good.
We shall be back.
300 years later, it's Halloween Eve, and they're back.
We're home.
Are you boys a little old to be trick-or-treating?
We're talking about 3 ancient hags versus the 20th century. How bad can it be?
Now they're digging up old friends
What a stench.
and running amok,
Amok.
looking for the one thing they miss most.
Who stayed for supper? I'm not hungry. Oh, but we are.
Only one boy has the power to stop them
Prepare to die again!
You have no powers here, you fool!
before all Salem falls under their spell.
Hello, you.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Bette Midler,
Hello.
Sarah Jessica Parker,
Would thou dance with me?
and Kathy Najimy. Hocus Pocus.
Into the night!
They love to fly, and it shows.
Good night. Sleep tight. No screaming.
So the IMDb bio is: a curious youngster moves to Salem, where he struggles to fit in before awakening a trio of diabolical witches that were executed in the 17th century.
That's like one synopsis that I feel doesn't really encompass the movie.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more to it than...
I didn't even know he had just moved there, first of all.
It's kind of the plot.
I mean, it is the plot that he's bullied
He's
because
new
he's
in
the
town.
new kid.
Was he? Okay, last week I
Yes.
was like falling asleep. I haven't seen this movie in years, and I was just like only half awake. And Ron kept hitting me, "Are
This
you
is-
awake?" It's like, yes.
This is your scintillating content, whoever might be listening to this. Your lovely host was falling asleep while watching the movie that we're talking about. And like doesn't even know the basic plot, which is like the first 15 minutes of the movie.
But a redeem.
Well, I thought the first 15 minutes of the movie is back in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the first contemporary 15 minutes of the movie.
She redeems herself with the fact that we haven't finished it yet. Well, we'll be done it by the time this comes out, but Exilia's seen body bags for the first time.
Oh, delightful.
And she's loving it, and I'm loving that she's loving it. Because it is
I was
very
falling
delightful.
asleep and I was like, turn it off so I can watch it later.
Oh, good. Yes, John Carpenter. God
Because if we haven't talked about it yet, Exilia is notorious for falling asleep while watching movies.
I'm just not good at I'm not good at, like, just sitting still.
Some people are, though. Like, some people just have that. Like, if they fall asleep. I have 3 very good friends. Not you. You're another
okay.
who does this. But... So I have 4 very good friends who always fall asleep when we're watching movies.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you never ever fell asleep while we were watching movies.
I mean...
Like, I have one friend that used to fall asleep on me.
I fell asleep every time we ever went to the theater together, pretty much.
Yeah,
you must have just not known.
Well, when you're in the theater, you're kind of like, it's dark and you're paying attention to the screen, so you could have been
when you're in the theater, you're kind of watching the movie, so...
Yeah, it's like, you could have been fucking sacrificing an old lady next to me, and I probably wouldn't have noticed.
That's true.
What a fitting podcast for Exilia to be on, a podcast about movies, and she sleeps through them.
It just takes me a little bit longer to finish them, that's all.
That's okay. Well, let's get right into it, guys. Favorite scene of Hocus Pocus.
Well,
Exilia goes first because we all know that Exilia probably only remembers the first 15 minutes.
No, it's not from the first 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's the scene that I remember the most from when I was a kid. And it's not even really the scene, it's more of a costume. The guy's mom is wearing that, like, Madonna bra costume with, like, the pokey boobs. And, that's just, like, the one thing that stood out to me since childhood, was like, whoa, that's an interesting costume.
I was gonna say, I love the casting of the parents in this.
Oh, it was brilliant.
And I enjoy that when I saw the dad, the only thing I could think of, I was like, oh, hey, it's the villain from Dumb and Dumber. Because that was literally the only thing I could think about him being in. But they were really good in the roles. I thought they were, like, some of the best performance.
Yeah, they're a real asset to the cast, which is saying something, because the cast is pretty stacked with good people.
Yeah, very good people. Mike, favorite scene?
It might be a weird one, I don't know, but, like, to me, it was always iconic, to the point where years ago I went and, like, online and found a, like, bootleg MP3 of it to put on my iPod. But it is actually, and it's funny because it ties into X's favorite scene, because it's when they get up on the stage and Bette Midler sings I Put a Spell on You.
Yep.
I just always remember that. Like, the years since I saw it when I was a kid, and I had not seen it for very, very many years, even though I loved it, I could always remember her singing I Put a Spell on You. I just thought it was iconic, you know?
That's, like, that whole scene is pretty much the only part of the movie I remember.
It was a lot of fun. It was a very fun scene. And it sort of, like, lightened it up a bit, because for a family movie, you know, it was, a lot of the scenes were fairly dark, right? Like, they die, they get executed, you know, they, like, try to kill youngsters. Like,
I was actually thinking about that, because I totally didn't remember the fact that they actually just, like, kill children and suck their essence into them so they stay young.
Well, and I was gonna say,
I totally forgot about that.
It's kind of interesting, because when I was briefly reading about it, apparently the original concept was this was gonna be, like, rated a lot higher. Like, he wanted this to be, like, a really dark, scary movie, and then Disney kind of, like, stepped in and was like, this is way too heavy, and it's way too dark, and you need to, like, lighten it up.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, they hired, well, I don't know if hired, whatever, the person who wrote it is, you know, essentially single-handedly responsible for 70% of the good Stephen King adaptations, like Mick Garris, you know? Like, this man's stock and trade is adapting, you know, the preeminent horror writer of the 20th century, you know? Of course it's gonna be fucking dark. Like, this is what this guy trades in. Like,
and it's, like, an interesting duo, because I know it was, like, him and David Kirshner writing it. And I just thought it was interesting because that guy comes from this horror background. And then, like, David Kirshner's 2 major credits are writing The Page Master.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, wow.
And,
man, that was like pre-Harry Potter.
And An American Tale for Disney.
I didn't know that.
Oh my god, American Tail is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm gonna cry just thinking about it.
I've seen it, I think. I think we've already gone on this rant. My family's against Disney movies. I'm against Disney movies. I'm sorry, Disney fans. We won't get into that in this episode. That's a whole discussion on feminism and racism in cinema. But anyway.
He digresses.
I digress. Favorite scene. Ooh, this is kind of hard. Mine's kind of a really simple scene. Is I really liked the comedy, and it's the most memorable to me when I had seen this when I was younger. Because I think, unlike a lot of people, it seems, in our community of horror, like, people watch this every year. Like, This is on people's lists. I have only seen this once when I was a kid, and I have never seen this again until now. And the scene I remember most is where they get on the vacuum cleaners.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
And, like, I thought that was, like, it was funny, and, like, for some reason that always kind of stuck with me. Like, in my head, I always thought of, like, oh, it's kind of like a comedy trope, which is on vacuum cleaners, and I feel like it probably came from Hocus Pocus. And, like, to me, that's my favorite scene, probably, just because I thought it was kind of funny and witty and all that kind of stuff. I do want to talk, because Mike brought it up, I do want to talk about, like, the stellar cast in this, like, pretty big guns for Disney, I feel.
Ooh, legends only. Like, this is... Even some of the youngsters are... Like, Thora Birch. Iconic.
My first thing was like, oh my god, I totally forgot Thora Birch was in this.
Yep, even as, like, however old she is in this, like, 10 years old or whatever, like, my god, or 13. Like, she's even iconic as a fucking
child,
annoying youngster, you know? Like, it's...
Ronan and I actually went with his family this week to go see this movie called The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and she makes a cameo appearance as, like, a person on a bus. And I was like, Thora Birch again, like...
Yeah. Side note, go see Last Black Man in San Francisco.
It's a great movie.
Because it was amazing. Yeah, and I can't think, I saw something... And that I obviously should have looked up for the podcast, and I didn't think about it. But she is, I feel like she's coming in a Marvel movie or something. Like, she's doing something very big right now, I saw.
She deserves it. She has put in her time. She's done her, like, lumps. She's done the indie stuff. She's done the family stuff. She's done the, like... Oscar bait. Like, this woman deserves more work. She deserves a Marvel movie. She deserves some kind of blockbuster where she's not front and center, but she's getting a good fucking paycheck and she's getting steady work so she can do other indie stuff, because she is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, well, and she, I was gonna say maybe she could get another Disney blockbuster, because I know she's been one of the main vocal people on wanting to revisit this film and do a second one, and she said that she...
What film, this one?
Hocus Pocus, because all of them, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, like, everyone has kind of said every year that they're on board to come do a second one. And I know Sarah Jessica Parker and Bette Midler have said that throughout the years Disney has approached them about coming back, and it just has never worked out, but they do want to come back. And then I guess we already name dropped 2 other people, Sarah Jessica Parker and Bette Midler.
Queens, yeah.
I mean, obviously it's massive that Bette Midler did this, and interesting that she continues to talk about that this is one of her favorite roles that she ever played, and I'd argue probably became one of her most iconic roles.
Oh, absolutely. And which is saying something, because in her career, like, everything she does is over the top, through the roof, legendary, you know? So for this to even be, like, in the top, like, kind of tier of what she has done in her insanely long storied career is a real fucking achievement, man. Like that shows the power of like a cult hit, you know? And I mean, in a way, like it's this is kind of like a weird version of a cult hit because it was obviously at the time very popular.
Yeah.
When it came out, and it has remained very popular. So it wasn't like an underground cult hit, but it's one of those like weird, like it was very popular, but yet still was sort of on the fringe, I guess, because it's a Halloween movie. I guess it's in the same way that, like, say, a Christmas movie can be called popular, like Christmas Vacation or something. It's not something that a lot of people watch all year round, but everybody loves and revisits and says how much,
every year.
Yeah.
Every year they watch it.
And that's a very interesting point. And, when I was watching it, maybe I should have focused on the movie a little more. I was thinking as I was watching, I was like, it's very interesting to think, because I thought of Halloween, then I thought about Christmas, and I'm like, there's so many, like, I'm thinking like Disney Christmas movies and just like Christmas movies in general. And I'm like, when it comes to family friendly movies, there isn't like a lot in the Halloween department that have necessarily kind of stayed around. Like
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I was thinking like Paranorman's kind of made
cute.
That's kind of made like a resurgence, it seems, in the theater runs, like bringing it back in family days, like Cheap Nights. I enjoy like Frankenweenie.
Oh yeah, that's cute too.
Kind of that Tim Burton style. And I guess, like, Corpse's Bride.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Corpse's Bride isn't really necessarily, like, on Halloween. But, yeah, like, so there's not a lot out there, so... Casper. I didn't even think about Casper. I haven't seen that in forever. But, yeah, and I was just saying, I also didn't really remember that Sarah Jessica Parker was in this.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
But like I said, I mean, I haven't seen it since I was young.
Her eyebrows in this movie are like...
God.
Chef's kiss. I love them. You know I love a good eyebrow. So.
I thought she did a great job. Like, I never really saw, like, her high times with, like, Sex in the City and stuff like I never saw that. So I thought she held her own. I mean, I think it's hard for anyone in that cast to kind of stand out with Bette Midler. Obviously, she's, like, she overtakes every scene she's in.
Side note, and speaking of eyebrows, today Rowan's coworker asked him where he gets his eyebrows done because she said they're very on point.
Yeah, that's true. She did say my eyebrows were very on point. So,
I mean, it's true. As a stan of eyebrows, they're great.
So if any listeners need eyebrow advice, just hit your boy up.
His advice is grow good eyebrows.
Pretty much.
Get good eyebrows.
Have good genes. Have this very particular combination of genetics.
So, was there any other, like, standout scenes or anything?
I mean, I had several things down that I didn't touch on.
Yeah, no. I wasn't wrapping it up.
Oh, okay.
I was just talking about, like, we were talking about favorite scenes. Were there any other, like, maybe that came in second place?
I love the guys at the graveyard. The ones that stole the kids' shoes.
Oh, yeah, the bullies. They
not that I condone bullying in any way.
They might have won the movie for me. Like, I think if anyone won this movie, they were super funny. And it really reminded me, like, I know it's like an American, it's like this 90s American film. To me, it really had that, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Canadian film feel. That's probably hard to...
Yeah, but isn't Mick Garris Canadian? I feel like he is.
Probably. Well, I mean...
I don't know. These are things that we should know.
These are things we should have researched beforehand, so listeners, we failed you.
We do love to win.
You can send all your hate mail to Mike's Instagram, because he's not going to get it, so...
Exactly. I post once every 14 months. And then I spook off again.
Spooky.
There's another thing I love. Okay, so I love this whenever I see it in books, because that's where I come across it a lot. They'll say something in the book, and you're like, that's where they got the title. And they did that in this movie. It says, oh, come on, it's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus. And I was like, that's where they got the title. Something about that I just, like, love.
You like when they use the title of the name in the movie?
Well, like, I love where you're just like, oh, that's where they, like, chose that from.
But did they choose it from that exact moment?
I feel like they, I don't know, but it's added in there. I don't know which
Mike's enjoying
first,
where this is going.
I love the, like, grade 4, like, I'm gonna clap because they said the title of the song.
I love it.
It's brilliant. This is like, it's such a, like, basic form of enjoyment from someone who is, like, intensely overeducated. Like, I just love the juxtaposition of it.
But
I just love
maybe
that.
You're like, they said the title. That's where they said the title right there. They just said the title of the movie.
Exilia's just trying to regress to a young viewer that could be viewing this.
That's true.
No,
That's true.
She's
like,
when I'm reading
performing.
When I'm reading books and I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. That's where they got the title from.
Oh my god, he just said the sound in the future. Which, P.S., they don't actually say in the book, but anyway. I don't know why I use that. That's the first book title that popped in my head.
I was gonna say that, because we touched on it earlier, yeah, the parents, I have to, like, salute the parents again. Almost every scene with the parents I, like, really enjoyed. I thought they did a great job, like, to me, there's a way that you're supposed to play parents in these, like, kids movies, and it's, like, super, like, dad meme-ish.
Yes, like, right now, I have written down. I don't know who said it. I'm assuming the son. They said, it sucked. And the dad goes, hey, watch your language. Because he said sucked. I'm like, that's such a dad
But it's so
thing.
funny because in a lot of these movies, the parents are, like, a lot more absent.
Yeah.
Like, they're just there, like, oh, honey, and then they disappear again. But, like, the parents get a really solid subplot chunk of this movie, which I love, and that's why, like, I feel like they got more developed than they do in a lot of these movies.
I'm gonna say something, and this is where the listeners and Mike and Exilia are gonna kick me off the podcast, vote me off the island. I waited, I held my tongue. So the I put a spell on you scene, I hate that scene so much.
Divorce.
So much.
I hate you.
I'm really fussy when it comes to kids movies, and one thing I absolutely hate in kids movies is songs, unless they're good.
Okay, how does that make any sense?
Bette Midler.
Rowan loves musicals. How does that even make sense?
Oh my god.
I don't know how to explain it. I think it's my hatred for Disney things. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I have the soundtrack. I love that. I love it.
Okay, literally love musicals.
I know, but I only really like kind of like fringe musicals. I don't like mainstream. I'm not like oh, it's Kenny Ortega time, so I better watch High School Musical. Like, I'm not watching.
What is wrong with High School Musical?
I've never seen it.
It's a cornucopia of homoeroticism and camp, high camp. I didn't like the scene, and may also be like, I Put a Spell on You is like up there in like my top songs. I love Screaming Jay Hawkins. Yes, so hearing Bette Midler do a like take on it, she is a fucking queen.
Okay.
Legend.
I'm just not a big Bette Midler person. I'm sorry.
Well,
I know.
We now have to get divorced.
There's gonna be riots. I'll be honest, I think this is the only movie I've ever seen Bette Midler in.
I can't believe that for like 8 years I've not known your hatred of Bette Midler.
I mean, the whole first half of this podcast is like, oh yeah, Bette Midler is so big, blah, blah.
Well, I know she's a big name. I'm just saying, like, I couldn't tell you what else she's in. Like, I don't know.
I'm neutral. I don't know a lot. I'm not a follower.
I'm not a Bette Midler expert, but
I mean,
I didn't like the scene. I get it, like, I get the wittiness of it. It just kind of made me cringe. And I feel, like I said, there's just some sort of nostalgia that I'm not getting or something. Like I said, I feel like so many people that love this movie are like faithful watchers every year since they were young. And I just wasn't one of them, so I don't have that connection. So, and I feel it's kind of like that with a lot of, and me, that might be my issue. Like, I've seen Disney movies as an older adult, and like, I don't have a connection with them. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I feel like, but there's lots of movies I've seen when I was young that are kids, like, I think like A Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, I watch that every year at least once, and so I love it. So I think it's just the nostalgia that, like, kind of I'm missing here.
I mean, this movie does rely a lot on nostalgia. Not, like, the movie itself, but I think the popularity of it.
Yeah, and because, like I said, like, and I feel like I should like it, because, like, we kind of touched on, like, it's pretty dark for a kid's movie, which you'd think I'd be into. Like,
I mean, they get executed several times in this movie.
yeah, like people are dying in this movie. Kids are dying. And it's not like they're coming back. Like, that little girl in the 17th century, like, she's dead. She does not come back. So...
because they suck her essence out of her.
That's right. I did also, I thought it was kind of funny. I was wondering if it was almost kind of a nod that they're, like, the spell book with the eye.
Oh, it looked like Evil Dead.
The Evil
Dead. I was
Evil
like,
Dead.
does this not look like the Necronomicon?
Literally the note I have here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, maybe this is like kind of a little nod to like a horror movie.
100%.
And I loved that. I went in being like, I remembered the zombie guy with his mouth sewn shut, which is like, kind of a little like gruesome for a kid's movie, but like I remember thinking, oh, I'm really gonna like that guy. I remember he's funny, and like I remember seeing the movie and he was awesome. And then like, yeah, this watch I was just like, I just felt lackluster about the whole thing. Like I said, I want to talk about positive things too, because I feel I don't want everyone to hate me. But yeah, like I also felt the movie, there were so many times when I was like, okay, this movie's over. And then it just kept going, and I was just like, "What?"
I hate that when I feel like that about movies.
I felt like I just wasn't connecting with it or something. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys.
That's fine.
Well, I have to say the dude with his mouth sewn shut was kind of brilliant because all men should shut the fuck up. It's a goddamn sign. Shut your fucking traps.
If you guys didn't realize, Mike's talking to me, so
no. Even though you vaguely slandered Bette Midler, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about 90% of the population.
That's probably what like 90% of the people listening to this episode are saying. They're like, yes, Rowan should shut the fuck up.
And speaking of talking or not, the guy, Max's girlfriend, Allison, which I had to wait forever to find out that's her name, she didn't friggin' talk the whole time, pretty much, until the end. And I've just found that so strange. She literally, like, barely said a thing. Also, when they came to, like, steal Thora Birch, she basically just sat there and watched it happen. And then Max came, and then she's, like, all concerned. She literally is sitting right next to the kid. She could have,
She was trying to get rid of that kid.
And she's like, oh no. Looking up in the sky, oh no, they took her. Like, what? Also, that actress looks very familiar, and I don't know who it is.
Oh, I was going to say, she actually has a little bit of horror pedigree. First of all, she was in the cult movie Ladybugs.
I've never seen that.
I've never heard of
with
that.
Rodney Dangerfield. What? Oh my god. Okay, it's brilliant. I wish it was a horror movie and we could talk about it, because I would just go for 2 hours by myself and you guys would not even get a word in. But she was also in one of the greatest movies of the 2000s of the horror genre, the remake of The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, that's
yeah,
where.
that's why you know her. Yep.
That's where
Oh,
I recognize
man.
her.
She had a couple
aged
of.
really
She had a
well.
couple of. She did age really well.
Oh my god.
Man, salute to her.
Mm-hmm. Vanessa Shaw, like she. Oof.
Yeah.
She played like the woman with the baby.
Yep, she was. Yep.
Man.
And she had the several very disturbing scenes in that movie.
Yes.
that-
I guess I can like this a little more then.
Yeah, I mean, she's got like that horror pedigree, right? Like it's.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Just a reminder to follow us on all of our social media at It Slays Podcast. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, soon to be on Tumblr. Of course, we're on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're adding us on iTunes, don't forget to leave us an iTunes review. It doesn't even need to be 5-star. We appreciate 5-star. But the most important part is we want to hear from you. So write us a text review in the iTunes app, and we will make sure to give you a shout out on the podcast. Every review helps as it bumps us up in the search engine, and you know, that's what it's all about. Back to the podcast. I will say too, there's a couple scenes where I was kind of surprised for like a Disney movie, because I'm thinking like Disney, budget, that kind of thing. There's like a couple scenes where there was like some dubbing issues I found, like where I could see their mouths and they're talking, but their mouths aren't moving. and they just kind of like dub speech in.
So that was like the point when Disney was like, Mick, we have an issue with your script.
Yeah.
We need to go in and reshoot it. Get them in for the like redubs.
Yeah, I feel
they can't actually say that dark thing. Let's just have them say we love Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse
will
great.
save the day.
Mickey Mouse is amazing.
I found a logical error.
Mickey Mouse is not a fascist.
A logical error. It's like you're part of IMDb.
I mean, I always nitpick the logic. So the cat...
You nitpick everything.
It's true. That's my job on this podcast.
Yes. We stand.
Do you hear the shade? So the cat, who's actually the boy from the 1700s, he basically, the whole plot is, in terms of him, is that he's like guarding to make sure that a virgin doesn't come and light that candle. And he like, they talk about how he like scares them off to make sure they don't light the candle. And then at the end, once like everything's resolved and he becomes a boy again, he's like, oh yeah, I had to wait 300 years for a virgin to light this candle. Although he had been like prohibiting virgins from lighting this candle for 300 years, and now he's pumped about it and it's everybody else's fault.
Well, it's not his fault that everybody that came into that witch house, was not a virgin.
Yeah, but he scared them away.
Maybe he was just helping them. He's like, stop being a virgin. Go get some.
You're missing the point.
I get your point.
Is there a point, though?
Yes, he scared them away for 300 years, and now that the resolution is good because he fucked up.
Just this one sentence that came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Issue with. Okay, fair enough. Yes, you are nitpicking. What am I talking about?
I also enjoy that we're nitpicking like Hocus Pocus in this one thing, and I'm thinking like all the issues that were in like April Fool's Day or like any other.
I mean, I feel like we talked about those. Like the logic of why they wouldn't go just find that damn body when they knew where it was.
Oh my God. We can't bring this up again.
The unfortunate thing was we talked about it before we started recording, so now April Fool's Day and the massacre thereof is fresh in everyone's brains.
I will say what threw me off about the 17th century, is it Sam or was that
Mac? Oh no, Max is I don't know what the guy's name.
But the 17th century boy that's the cat, and I looked it up because I was like, something's not right here. So the voice of the cat is not the actor that plays
the
him.
Boy. Oh, that's weird.
So they have two different voices, because I was like, this doesn't sound anything like that guy. And I looked it up, and sure enough, they got someone else to voice the cat instead of just getting
the same actor.
The same actor to voice the cat. So they have two totally different voices.
That's kind of weird.
And also, when I see the cat, all I thought about was Sabrina.
Me too.
So,
me too.
Shout out to Sabrina. I miss that show. Like, I like the new show, but I miss Melissa.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah.
We love her.
I mean, I think that's why I really like witches a lot. I mean, there's other reasons I like witches,
I used to
but they like
Sabrina.
I love
in the 90s.
I love their like companionship with cats. I really identify.
Yeah, I love cats and witches.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Jeez, you're so defensive about it. But I do like the witch portrayal. Like I said, I want to keep some things positive. Listeners, don't get that mad at me. I did take some good things away. I did think Bette Midler did an amazing job playing the witch. I did enjoy, like, they sucked the life force out, and it did take me a second, because she's like, oh, I look younger now, and I was like,
they literally know
I was
difference.
like,
girl, you look exactly, you've got, like, one less wart on your face,
But, like, really amazing. So, like, Mike, you're a little more familiar with Bette Midler than I am. Is she known for comedy, or?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because her comedic timing is, like, very... very well done.
Yeah, she is a woman that wears many hats. Like brilliant singer, and several of her most well-known roles and like critically received are like heavy dramas.
Yeah.
Damn, that woman, like growing up, I watched, like, we'd get together for sleepovers and like somebody's mom would have a Bette Midler movie rented or whatever, and they were always comedies, and that woman is a brilliant comedic actor. Like, her comedy chops are really, really, really underrated.
Yeah, like I really thought, even though, like I said, like I wasn't that engaged in necessarily like the narrative, like I could respect her performance in the comedic role that she was in. And like I said before, like I thought Sarah Jessica Parker did amazing. The whole clique of them, like I was like, man, there's no way that like this didn't influence like Mean Girls. Like you could really see like that comedic timing where like Sarah Jessica Parker's like kind of the airhead, and like there was a lot of things she did like with her face and everything and her body that like you saw in like Mean Girls and all, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I should have looked it up. I can't think of the other woman's name.
Kathy Najimy.
Yeah, she was probably I might have liked her the best, better than Bette Midler.
Oh, I mean, look, you want to talk about comedy chops?
Yeah,
like,
super funny.
I mean, she's Peggy Hill.
Yeah, just
like that is Peggy Hill.
Just amazing. Like I really enjoyed her. She was probably like one of my favorite parts. Other than the parents, she was my favorite part.
She's really severely underrated. Like, she does not get enough credit. Like, that woman is completely brilliant.
And I feel like I haven't seen her. Like, I know I've seen her in other live action stuff, but I feel like I haven't...
Sister Act.
Yes, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, but I haven't seen her, like, in much. That makes me sad because I really, really enjoyed her. What are some other points we want to talk about?
Other than the fact that the two greatest people in the world, Penny and Gary Marshall, played a couple in this movie when they're brother and sister. I just thought that was so cute.
Yeah, I did think that was super funny.
You know, comedy gold right there, like legends, right?
Okay, what are you saying?
Penny and Gary Marshall are in this movie, and instead of playing a brother and sister, they play a husband and wife.
Who are Penny and Gary Marshall?
Okay, anyway, we'll move on. That's a whole podcast in itself.
They played the parents.
Penny Marshall, Laverne and Shirley.
Exili doesn't know.
I have no idea.
You can't see it, but the blank look on her face is actually fucking tearing my soul to shreds right now.
Exili doesn't like old like shows or movies, so
okay,
she wouldn't know.
Anyway, comedy legends.
They're very
like,
legendary,
actual legends.
And they're brother and sister
in real life.
Yeah, and they play a husband.
She does a lot of acting, and he does a lot of directing, but he acts a lot too, and they're usually in the same movies together.
But they're the parents?
They were parents in it, not the main parents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like how Exili's pretending that she knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, I get it. They're brother and sister, but they played husband. I mean, that's a bit creepy, but you know, whatever.
Also, before we go to the next question, I did want to bring up and just say that Max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Max's girlfriend.
Allison.
Ballin'. That house.
Oh my god, the fucking rich people dressed up as like fucking French aristocrats.
I was dying at that.
This is such a fucking
brilliant
commentary.
Yeah, I did give a lot of respect to that scene. I'm like, they knew.
Yeah.
They're like fucking
Oh, they knew.
Fucking bourgeoisie. And I will also say, when Max got his shoes stolen, those shoes were fire. Those were like the dad. Yeah. I just like, because it was like, those were obviously cool shoes at the time. And I'm like, these shoes are literally what dad memes are made out of on the internet now. So
I like that he stole them back.
Yeah, I do like that he stole them back. Well, let's go to Is It Scary? Now, I know it's going to be hard for us to do this because, you know, as people that, you know, subject themselves, I can't compare Hocus Pocus to a Serbian film or something, but I thought let's break it into two parts. So first, was it scary for us personally? Exilia.
No.
I feel like you only need that one word. Mike, how about you?
I mean, no, not personally. Not at this point in my life, but maybe when I was like 7.
And I will say the same thing, like definitely wasn't scary. It was definitely a comedy. Now that's why I wanted to split it into two parts. I thought maybe we could say, like, you know, if we put ourselves in the shoes of being like 6 years old or however year old you would be, would you find this scary as a kid? Or if you've seen it when you were a kid, do you remember finding it scary?
I did see it as a kid. I don't remember finding it scary, but I'm surprised because there was actually the child.
There were some dead kids in this movie.
The children dying. But no, I didn't think it was scary.
Okay, Mike.
I can see how other kids may have found it because there was, some vaguely disturbing content. And, the history of witches in America is very unsavory and unpleasant. But that said, obviously at this point in my life, when I watched it when I was a youngster, even as a kid, I was not watching. I had, watched 8 million horror movies. I watched every creepy ass kids movie. And I watched it because I was that little fey kid who was like standing Sarah Jessica Parker and Bette Midler. So that, that was, their wigs were the scary part of that for me.
Mike was the kind of kid that was like, oh, Hocus Pocus is on TV again. Let me just switch the channel so I can watch Witchboard.
Well, pretty much. Actually, that's legitimately my childhood right there. So thank you for the read. I appreciate it.
I was just putting on my reading glasses.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the same thing. Like, when I saw this when I was young, I don't remember being scared. I mean, we've talked about it. I was raised on horror movies, me and Mike both, so I was like a little psychopath anyway. So I could see the themes. I guess if you had a sheltered kid, I mean, I would hope my kid would never find this scary, because I might be ashamed.
Well, that means you haven't done your job.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like, I'm thinking if your kids, like, only watched, The Lion King or something, and then they see this, they might find the themes a little scary. And like we said, there's, like, dead kids. That kid needs to, also with the internet today, like Mike said, the kid's like, oh, witches, let me find out about witches. And then they can find out, if they're American, what their ancestors did to women in Salem.
It's the misogyny is the scariest part of any witch movie.
That's
Exactly.
right. So let's go into rating it. And we're going to start with Mike.
I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those movies that, like, is steeped in nostalgia for me, and I've always, like, had a fond place in my heart for it, and I haven't watched it in a very long time. But even when I was a youngster, it was kind of like I said, for me, I watched it because of the stars, and in the, like, echelon of their films, it still didn't rate that high.
Yeah.
Because I was already a bit kind of too advanced for that. So, and then when I rewatched it, I mean, listen, I'm just calling it like that's the way it was. I was advanced. I can't help it. Even now, like, when I rewatched it with the nostalgia factor, I just wasn't as impressed by it as a lot of people seem to be.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So, for me, I'm kind of neutral on it. It's sort of a nay plus, you know what I mean? Like, it's
an A plus.
It's not something that I'm gonna keep rewatching every year, and like I understand why a lot of people do regularly watch this and cosplay and dress up at Halloween, but like to me, it didn't really cut it.
Yeah.
As Mick Garris movies go, too, it was just like, I've seen worse. I've seen better. I've seen worse.
Okay. We'll switch it up. I'll go next, so Auxilia can go last.
She loves that.
I feel as we rate this, I'm just imagining our listens and our subscribers all drop and boycott us. I'm gonna give it a nay. I didn't really remember this, so I don't really have the nostalgic component to it. So, like I said, listeners, don't murder me. I'm reviewing this as a 32-year-old man watching this film. It didn't hit for me. I thought there was funny moments in it. I can appreciate why people like it, but I just was kind of bored. Like, as the movie went on, there wasn't enough standout scenes for me to keep me overly interested, especially maybe the last 20 minutes. Like, I found it was really sluggish for me, especially because I thought...
Yeah, that's when it should be kicking into gear.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it does for other people, but it was when they put them in the oven the first time, I thought that was it, and I'm like, alright, cool. And then I just really wasn't prepared that there was another 20... Then I looked at the time, and I'm like, oh, there's another 20 minutes of this movie. So, obviously...
Yeah, the pacing is a bit off.
So, it just didn't do it for me. Like I said, take the nay with heart that I'm reviewing it as a 32-year-old man. So, this movie is not meant for me. I think for kids, it's probably a great movie. And I mean, I would have no problems, when I have a kid showing the kid this to expose it to Halloween and stuff like that. It's not, it's gonna watch Evil Dead before it sees this, so... Yeah, that's my...
I love when you call your potential future child it. It's my favorite thing in the universe.
It's like the Addams Family.
Yeah, exactly.
They. I should just say they. Exilia.
So I've been very slowly trying to introduce a new level of reviewing, and since I'm a cheater, as these guys say, I don't care that Rowan doesn't want me to say it. I'm gonna give it an okay.
All right, let's with the listeners have this discussion now. Mike, Exilia wants to introduce the okay, so that it is nay, okay, yay or slay. Should we just introduce the okay to give it another level?
I'm down with that.
Some movies are between nay and yay.
That might get rid of our pluses and stuff. So
yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's
that will actually adding another wrinkle actually simplifies.
That's right. So there you go. Listeners get to listen to the democratic process, even though democracy is a neoliberal joke.
Oh my God.
That's right, listeners. We're getting serious now.
Well, I'm glad I could implement that change for you guys.
Yes, so we will...
Well, X did say that she was going to use an episode as a backdoor pilot for her own sociological sub-podcast.
So there you go, Exilia. You can now officially put it in the okay category.
Well, I was going to do it anyway, so...
Okay.
So I would give it an okay. I remember, like, as a child liking it. I haven't seen it in years. And I was kind of expecting to have, like, more of a nostalgic feeling, but I didn't, as, like, evidenced by the fact I fell asleep 1,000 times. But yeah, it was okay. Like, same. Like, our kids, I won't yell at them if they watch this. That's fine. But, yeah, it was okay.
So I just have a question for you two. Do you know what time it is?
Budget time?
It's time to jam.
It is always time to jam, but it is also time for the budget game. I feel like we need a good, like, buffer that has, like, a song. I keep saying that. I don't know what it would be, like, budget game. Anyway, so we know how this works. Budget game. Exilia and Mike are gonna guess how much it costs to make, and then they're gonna guess how much it made. And this might change your opinions on things. I don't know. So we'll see.
Can I go first?
I guess. It seems Mike doesn't have a choice, so...
No, that's fine.
The cost. Exilia, how much do you think it costs?
$5 million.
To make. $5 million. Mike.
I was thinking about $8 million.
All right, so Mike is gonna take it. I mean, neither of you were that close. So this was actually...
So this is a Price is Right win right here, which is not a win at all.
So this actually cost $28 million to make.
Unexpected. Is it because Bette Midler asked for
I mean,
so much
I'm
money?
gonna kind of assume that Bette Midler probably took a hefty pay for this.
What's Bette short for? Bettina?
I think we've lost Mike.
You just broke me.
Sorry.
You just broke me.
Bettina Midler.
You never know.
That's terrible. Yeah, so $28 million to make.
I feel like that's a bit excessive.
A lot of money. So let's do how much it made, Mike.
I'll say probably $60 million.
Okay, $60 million sounds reasonable. Exilia.
Maybe $50 million.
$50 million. So Exilia is gonna take this one. It only made $39.5 million. So they made about $11 million in profit from it. I read it was considered a success. Obviously, it wasn't like a massive success, but it was successful enough that they floated around the idea of doing a second one. This film did a lot bigger once it came to the video market.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then became this like cult classic very quickly. I was reading that pretty much the minute it came out on video, it was like considered this cult hit.
Because I had never seen it in the theater or anything. It was always like on video.
Yeah, so, I was very surprised that it had only made that much.
I have a fun and randomly unexpected fact about Bettina Midler. She was born in Honolulu.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
No.
Thanks for that.
I love it.
Fun fact.
Thanks for that fun fact on Bettina.
I am never calling her anything but Bettina from now on.
Bettina. Last episode it was Westifer. And now it's Bettina.
He does a cameo in Body Bags, and last time I was like, oh, it's Westifer.
Oh, the impact. The impact.
Hey, are you interested in becoming a horror hound? Then join us at www.patreon.com/itslayspodcast and check out everything we have to offer. We have cool things from podcast shoutouts to picking movies all the way to maybe getting yourself a free t-shirt. So if you're interested in joining us and becoming a horror hound, join us at patreon.com/itslayspodcast. Our next segment we're usually used to me doing, but this time Exilia is gonna do it. And Exilia went on our Instagram and our Facebook, and she asked a question. I think we were all very overwhelmed with the responses.
Well, let's just say Instagram didn't love me. Funny for you on Instagram, I'm the one that posts most of the time on our Instagram, but okay.
Facebook blew up,
Facebook, yeah. So Instagram, the lone...
Well, what you haven't said what the question is
Oh,
yet.
yes, right. That would be information that's crucial to this segment. My question was, as a kid, which treat did you absolutely hate receiving on Halloween?
Now wait, before you read the answers, I think we should answer our answers.
Okay.
Mike, treat you hated to get on Halloween.
That's a tough one, because I just had a sweet tooth and I loved everything. Honestly, fucking Smarties. I think they're
What? I ate Smarties like 20 minutes ago. Literally, look at this box.
Exilia is showing Mike
God.
a box of Smarties.
She is calling me out right now. I'm sorry, because I was waiting for everybody to say candy corn and molasses treats. Because guess what, bitches? They're my fucking favorite. They always were, always.
Oh my god, I was literally going to say candy corn
Also,
and molasses treats.
for our American viewers or listeners, Smarties are not the same as what you think.
Yeah.
I'll get into that more, because that arises.
We really shouldn't.
No, but that arises in the answers.
Okay.
So let's get to the answer. Wait, did you say what you didn't like?
I really hated getting rockets.
Rockets?
And I would get so many, and I just they would be.
I love the
they'd
rockets
be the
because
last
they
to go.
peel skin off of the inside of my mouth because they were so rough. And I just love that as a masochist.
And that's really the only thing. I mean, those would always be left. That's really the last
And
thing.
apples, obviously. Any fruit.
Who
or
actually handed
toothbrush.
out apples? I never had one. I never got one apple.
Oh, there was always one.
Oh
Although
my God.
as adults, and we know how expensive fruit is, we're like, man, we wish people would give us some fruit.
They were really looking out for us. If I got like a granola bar or something like that,
See, I like that stuff. Candy corn molasses treats, I hate it.
Candy corn is... I've never got candy corn, ever. I call them like Halloween candy. That's like the molasses ones. I love...
molasses treats,
I love those.
They're literally my favorite candies in the fucking universe.
I like them
hands
now
down.
as an adult.
Yeah,
I
they're
didn't
good.
like them as a kid.
Although they...
Well, see,
got so
everybody would
stuck in my
always
teeth.
give me their molasses candies. They'd be like, "Wow, this garbage," and I'm like, "Here, take my fucking Smarties that like hurt my teeth." Like,
Exilia wishes she had your Smarties right now.
Yeah, jeez.
I know. Well, we would have been like good friends growing up because we could have just
Trade.
swapped off, right?
So what did everyone else say?
So on Instagram, NM Shears said rockets. Yep.
How dare you, Nicole?
How dare you?
So on Facebook, I shared it on my personal and my and the It Slays Facebook. So as Rowan did last time, I'm not gonna say the people's last names because that's a bit weird, but Brad Dunn. Oops. Okay, it's
Brad was
he's
on the
been on the-
episode. We already said his last name.
He's been on the podcast, so you guys know it. Stop. I'm sorry. You're
Like, same Brad. We're not gonna say their names. Brad Dunn.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You guys already know him anyway, so it's okay.
Friend of the podcast, Brad Redacted.
Okay, so I mean, the question was literally, as a kid, which treat did you absolutely hate receiving on Halloween? And he wrote, the dentist on my street used to give coupons for free McD's fries for kids who live nearby. Is that like he didn't like that? Because I don't like McDonald's, but the
he
fries
was just
are the
low-key
best.
flexing.
I think so too.
He was flexing that he got
he's
free
just
fries,
trying to flex there.
I mean, that's sweet.
I wish I had that.
I love McDonald's fries. Jess, or Jessica, said Tootsie Rolls. I like Tootsie Rolls, I think.
I was never huge on Tootsie Rolls, so...
But
They're
it
not my
depends on how
favorite, but-
warm or cold they were. If you ate them, like, fresh out of, like, freezing cold, probably raining or snowing, trick-or-treating, they were, like, really hard and, like, you couldn't... But if you like,
couldn't bite
had them
them.
in your pocket...
Yeah,
and they were,
they're
like,
soft.
warm and
They're good
and
when they're
chewy,
soft.
yeah.
Charlene responded to her and said, LOL, I love these. Still buy them. Jill said rockets. Jen, friend of the podcast as well, said, I stuck to the chocolate and my parents ate the rest. I surprisingly wasn't a fan of going and begging for candy. LOL.
Oh.
That's actually very
Jennifer.
interesting because I also was not huge.
I mean, it's expected that they have candy and that you're gonna come get it.
Yeah, but I was saying I also wasn't huge on, like, trick-or-treating. When I was young,
Really?
I used to ask my mom, like, I'd want to stay and hand out
What?
candy. I thought that was like cool.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I used to get my friggin' pillowcase out, and my mom and we'd walk like
You were hitting the town.
always.
Oh, yeah, it was pillowcase. My mom
Yeah.
thought bringing a pillowcase was rude. And I was like, no, bye. If I'm going out, I'm filling this baby the fuck up. I'm not going home and bringing my little tiny, like,
Yeah,
1 foot square fucking
thing with the pumpkin
plastic
face on
bag.
it.
Yeah, no, sweetheart. I'm not bringing no plastic.
I like
goddamn
Also,
trick-or-treat
in
tub.
retrospect, the pillowcase is much more environmentally friendly.
Exactly, it's a reusable bag. It was the OG reusable bag. Pillowcase trick-or-treaters are like...
I'm just gonna go to the grocery store now with my pillowcase.
that would be amazing. I won't be there because I don't want that kind of embarrassment. I also like that when I was young, I don't think it ever happened, but I'd always be convinced when I did go out that I was going to get a lot of candy, so I'd always bring multiple pillowcases.
Okay, that's a bit much.
Because I was, like, convinced, I'm like, oh yeah, like, I'm going to get so much this year, and then you'd never fill one pillowcase.
Oh, I used to get hardcore, like a whole pillowcase.
There you go.
And then as we were like in middle school, graduating to high school, okay, this is like a quick story. Some of my friends lived in like this very like ritzy subdivision here. That is blank estates, so you know it's like ritzy. And so basically everyone would just like go to that subdivision because the people would give out full-size chocolate bars. And then once every single person in the town went to that place, then they like started getting out shitty stuff. But
I thought Brad was flexing. You're flexing now.
No, man. Okay, so I went to this one person that I was friends with in grade 7. I went to her house like the next year, and her mom, they had a lot of money, and her mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she like opened the door. She's like, "Oh, you're such and such's friends. Come in." And she had like baked special Halloween things and like took us to their grand dining room, and we all walked around and we could take like one of everything plus what she was giving out at the door. It was awesome.
Man.
So fuck you, Brad. Okay, so then Charlene says, molasses kisses, disgusting little things.
Electric chair. Electric chair to Charlene.
Claire says candy corn with a clapping hand and a puke face.
Okay, electric chair to her.
And Ashley says dots with a puke face. Now, dots, it sounds familiar, and I vaguely remember them, but I don't think I ever got them for Halloween.
I can't remember. They're like...
Didn't they come on like a sheet and you like pick them off the sheet? Is that
I
what
think
maybe?
so.
I thought I thought dots
Aren't
were
they
were
kinda
like
like
Mike and
Ike's?
Ike's. Like they're
Yeah.
kind of like
Oh
gummy.
yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
And then on my personal Facebook, Jane said butter and sugar sandwiches. I'm not actually sure what that is.
Is that a euphemism?
No, I mean she's like my aunt pretty much, so maybe it's like a back in the day thing. I'm not sure.
Give me a sugar sandwich. I need a little butter in my buns.
Oh my god. Our friend Sarah Jean said dried up oranges. What? Where? PEI is a weird place. Like, where are you getting dried up oranges? Vanessa said molasses kisses, apples, or homemade food. Not allowed to eat it. Probably because they thought there was razor blades in it.
Which, just to let you know, if you
Never
have kids,
happened.
let them know. Happens all the time.
Alex said regular flavored chips. I was very much like, I hated the regular flavored
I love
chips.
plain chips, so...
And then peppermints, ... And then in capitals, peppermints with like 1,000 exclamation marks.
I love peppermints.
He wasn't
Well, it's
a
good to
fan.
settle your stomach after all the fucking shitty junk you just ate.
And then my Aunt Pat said apples.
I think we've already... Fruit is out of the question.
Don't try to help the kids.
See,
out.
I always like the chip products because I was never big on chocolate when I was young, unless it was white chocolate, and no one gives white chocolate at Halloween for some reason.
So my dad works at a chip factory, so kids, like, my parents always exclusively give out chips.
Yeah, so chips were up my alley.
I loved getting cans of pop.
Yeah, cans of pop.
That was sweet.
Amazing, especially because you were like, man, I'm gonna eat all this candy. I hope I got some can of pops.
I know. Except for basically I'd get home and my mom would be like, oh, let's see what you got. And I'd have to like empty out my whole pillowcase onto the living room floor, and then my mom would like take all the good stuff.
It's
She's
like
oh, can I have one of these? Can I have one of these?
It's the shakedown. It's like the mafia. That parents have like a
it'd be like
Halloween
one.
mafia.
Yeah, it'd be like one. I'd have like one of these good things, and she'd be like, oh, can I have that? And I'm just like,
Guilt trip your child.
I also like getting Twizzlers. I like candy.
So I think we should thank everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
There was a lot of responses, and we enjoy hearing from you guys. So yeah, answer our questions when we ask, and we'll make sure to shout you out. And unless you're Brad, we won't say your last name.
Oops.
So I did want to bring up, I wanted to thank, we've had lots of people responding and commenting and following my journey. I've been doing, everyone kind of does the October horror movie challenge. So we kind of created our own with the hashtag #ItSlays31days. Where I've dedicated myself to watching a horror movie every day of October. Because I love my listeners so much, I don't like to hold things from you. I've posted some movies, and I've fallen asleep, and I haven't watched them. So I apologize.
Who's falling asleep now?
Yeah, sometimes it happens. But I've been watching most of them. So far, we've watched stuff like Us, and Body Bags, and Hereditary, and the Crazies remake, and I don't even know what else. A bunch of different stuff. So thank you for everyone that's been commenting and liking, and definitely feel free to also use that hashtag #ItSlays31days so I can go in and see what you're watching. I've had a couple people tell me what movies they've been watching. And not everyone has the time like me to stay up late and watch these. So even if you're only watching one a week, I'm interested to know what are your kind of like Halloween films that you... Some people have rituals. I have movies that I watch every Halloween season. So what are you watching? That's what I want to know. I think that's everything from us this evening. Thank you for putting up with listening to us every week this month, and we're happy to do it. We've been enjoying ourselves, I think. So, as always, thank you for listening and supporting. I am the humble host, Bash.
Bye, it's Exiliah, the other co-host.
And this is Mike. Goodbye.